Since times before history, we've been gathering around our fires to tell stories. Join us as we play through multiple role-playing game systems, looking for one that's the perfect fit for our next campaign, and hopefully showing you some options that are out there for your own games. Welcome to the Fireside Stories. Hello, barbarians, and welcome to part 2 of our Numenera Fireside Story. This is Rainey.
And I'm Santiago.
And we are back kind of with Kane as he's approaching Cylion Basin. But before we get started, if you've been enjoying our Numenera Fireside Story so far, this book was gifted to us by Jesse in California. And so if you want to show him some love as a thank you for letting us play this game, you can definitely do that. You should check him out on Instagram at GrandPays. There's a link in the description. He does kind of custom nerdy yarn craft, and he takes commissions. So if you have something that you'd like custom crafted for you, you can definitely check him out as a way to say thanks for supporting the podcast, because that was a really cool gift.
Yeah, get yourself a yarn craft Pikachu or something.
So last time we met Kane as he was heading west on the 5th stretch of the Wandering Walk, heading kind of towards civilization, really. Kind of in the opposite direction of a lot of the other pilgrims sort of leaving the cities to go out in this direction.
Yeah, having come in from the wastes and the badlands, etc., the tangled forests, and whatever else.
Like you're just making up stuff that's not even out there.
I'm just saying as a for instance.
Sure. Breaking camp one morning, a couple of children arrived, riding on a strange centipede-like beast, which scurried off after they dismounted from it. And it turned out that the children were there kind of seeking two things. One, the boy, the older of the two, was looking for someone to help him either get his sister to Cylion Basin because there was protection for her there that she needed, or to go back to his village in the False Woods to help his family who were attacked by strange flying creatures. All right, and what did Kane decide to do?
He decided to take Saria, the little sister, to Cylion Basin to meet the wise woman or whatever, psychic lady, head shrinker, brain doctor, I don't know, that she is destined to see, according to her brother, and convince some of the other travelers to help Patel with his village.
Right. So you headed west with Saria in tow, and along the road, some of the travelers from the camp kind of had been following you and demanded you hand over the girl, so a little bit of combat ensued.
Mm-hmm.
Since that time, because that was our first combat, we've looked into the rules to make sure we're doing it better next time. But that's the whole point of these fireside stories, is it's our first time in the system usually. So it gives you an idea of how easy it is to pick up or not. In this case, we only did one thing that needs a fixing, so it's not too bad. So you were continuing your walk to Cylion Basin with Saria, who again she seems more comfortable with you at this point, but she definitely seems distracted, like she can't think clearly. She complains about headaches and things like that. All right, do you have any questions before we get started? Or anything you want to refresh her on or anything like that?
Not necessarily. My only point of concern is an RP type of point. So last time I was having a hard time getting into the character, especially in terms of accent. And that was really bothering me. So I tried to do a little work on that in the between time. And it dawned on me that part of what was tripping me up was that the concept I had for this character was kind of a gruff kind of guy, maybe with a rough exterior, anti-hero, so the heart of gold type of personality for him. And so he's not much of an orator, and he's not really good at talking to or persuading people necessarily. And I found him in a lot of those situations. And then on top of that, he has to deal with this like poor, girl. So he has like, feelings of compassion and stuff like that. He's just maybe not the best at expressing them. And so I was just kind of torn between these two personalities. And so I don't want it to be a jarring like character shift when he's a little more gruff this session than he was last time. It's kind of a retcon that he's just sort of gruff the whole time.
Okay. I don't think that'll be too much of a shift. You weren't necessarily the nicest person before or anything. You were pretty quiet.
Yeah. Did not talk a whole lot, but
and when you did try to rouse the group, you spent effort to do that. So I think, that's in line with a character who's not necessarily quite as social, where it actually, you have to try to like talk to people in that regard. Yeah.
I just don't want to throw anyone for a loop, like who's this guy out of the blue or whatever, or if the voice is drastically different, I don't want there to be no preamble or preview to that. So I'm going to try that a little bit harder.
Okay. So you are getting pretty close to the town known as Cylion Basin. And Cylion Basin is pretty well known to travelers in this area because of where it is and what it offers to travelers. So Cylion Basin is kind of the western border of the fifth stretch, so this segment of the Wandering Walk. Going west beyond the city, or beyond the town, it's not really a city, you'd go through the mountain pass called Tremble Pass, and then you'd be in kind of the more civilized section of this part of the Ninth World.
Mm-hmm.
Cylion Basin is known for and named for a series of 5 small pools, or basins as they refer to them, that functionally create the center of the town. The town has built up around it. And these pools are known for their healing properties. They're naturally fed pools. And you would know that about this town going into it.
All right, it's pretty common knowledge. And then,
yeah.
So this is also like, these are like hot springs, hot mineral springs.
Yeah.
Basically.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so the road, the path really, you can kind of skirt the entrance to Cylion Basin and continue on into the pass, or you can turn south to go into town, is the way that it works. So it's kind of your last stop going westward, or your first stop heading east out into the wastes of the fifth stretch.
Okay.
Okay. So as you arrive, it's now much later in the day between walking, especially with a child in tow, and the little bit of a skirmish that you had.
Right.
But you can see the entrance to town kind of curving away to the south.
Okay. Is there any apparent hubbub or guards? Is there a line? What does it look like, the entrance, I mean?
Well, getting closer to it, there's no gate. There's no walls around the city or around the town or anything like that. Getting closer, you can see that it's really kind of, for the most part, this sort of main thoroughfare with shops and stalls that have sprung up on either side of it, and they've kind of spread outward from the middle as they've built up this town. And as you approach, especially as the light begins to go, kind of start getting low over the mountains, you can see going south from you these pools, these basins, all in a line. like pointing due south. And you can see that each of the basins are a different color. So the first basin is red, the second one is orange, then yellow, then green, then black.
Okay.
Okay. And you can see people, adults, children, creatures even, enjoying the waters of the pools, playing or relaxing in their depths, although they're not very deep. And as you get closer, it's easy for you to see they're about 20 feet in diameter. They're roughly circular, and they seem to be about 3 feet deep. So people, like adults, can sit in them pretty easily. Children can play in them without it being any sort of danger for the most part. And they seem to be free to use. And you can see kind of permanent stations of glow globes have been set up along this stretch of pools. And then on either side of the basins, there are these wooden planks that have been put down to give you a dry walkway. And then all the shops and stalls are on the outside of those planks, with some houses and things beyond that.
Okay. So we can just walk right in.
You can.
No problem at all. And start looking for the brain sign.
Yeah. So as you get into town proper, you can see that pretty much all of the shops and stalls seem to have a theme of being like healing items or repair items. This is definitely a town that's really focused around the healing properties of the area, and that's really what the businesses have kind of been built to incorporate. And like I said, it's relatively bustling, although you notice that a lot of the shops and stalls don't really have a lot of goods to sell. They seem pretty limited in their stock right now. But, you know, there are people still yelling, hawking their wares, all offering you suggestions on things you absolutely need to make you better because you must be sick or you must be tired and weary, or, you know, they're just inventing ailments that you probably have that they can sell you something for. But are you just kind of walking around and looking for this sign that you know you're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, we know what the sign looks for, and we'll know the proprietor when we see her. So she's a lady named
Darvin.
Darvin, that's right.
Yes, so you continue down Main Street, so you pass the red pool, and the water in quotations, of this pool, I mean, it looks like blood. It's like super deep red. And there are people sitting in it and relaxing. And the next one is like orange, like sunset.
Okay.
The next one is like the yellow one, it's super bright yellow. And then the next one is the green one, which is like the brightest leaf held up to the sun. And then you get to the black pool. And it's really weird because you'd expect the black pool, like your brain wants it to be kind of like thick or oily or something like that. But it looks like water. It's super thin, but it's inky black. Like you can't see anything past the surface. And you notice there's a group of children playing in there and splashing each other. And as they do, these long streams of impossibly like ink-like water are running down their hair and skin in these like black, strange veins. But they seem to be having a good time.
And it doesn't appear to leave any stain.
No.
Nice.
So this is kind of the end of the main street area. And so you're sort of looking around to see what you can see. And you're looking for, you know, a store, a sign, something very specific. And looking beyond the black basin, you can see it. A wooden sign that has an actual brain nailed to it with 2 large, thick nails.
What the fuck?
And from the size, it doesn't look human, but it's hard to tell.
So I was expecting maybe something crudely drawn, or at most a like, you know, carved relief or something like that of a brain, not an actual.
I wonder how often she has to refresh it.
I wonder. I also wonder, you know, if it's a prop or something. Like I start thinking like, okay, is that just like, you know, a sculpture of some kind that's up there and good marketing because it looks so realistic, So I'm going to examine the sign as we approach
Right.
to see if I can, discern its authenticity.
Right. And you do notice as you approach, although you can certainly inspect it, there is a woman kind of leaning against the shop front under the sign. She has sharpened shards of metal and synth that protrude in semicircles around her eyes, the base of her nose, and at the corners of her mouth.
So she has artificial spines in her face, basically. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I'll have you go ahead and, like I said, you don't really know things. Mm-hmm. But you can roll your intellect, and we'll make it difficulty 3.
All right. Here we go. 9.
All right, so you just barely made it.
Just barely made it.
It definitely looks like a real brain to you,
Okay.
but you don't know what it's from.
Can I reach it? Is it within arm's reach?
Like if you had a little hop, maybe.
Okay. No, I don't want to jump up and reach it. I wanted to reach out and maybe poke it, but if I have to, jump or whatever,
Right.
then...
And the woman sees you eyeing the sign, and she looks at you, and she looks down at the girl, and she says, "Come, I know what you seek." And she turns and goes inside the shop.
All right. I'll assume that this is the woman that we're looking for. So, without further ado, I'll follow her into her shop. Hopefully with Saria in tow.
Yep, she's staying really close to you. Since you got into town, she's been looking around, very interested. You kind of get the feeling she hasn't been away from her village, probably at all in her life. But she's being very quiet, just kind of taking things in, not sure of what's going on. And as you enter the store, you can see the woman kind of goes behind a counter. And inside the shop, you can see tubes and wires comprising machines that seem to be sort of hodgepodge together. And she turns back to you after she gets behind the counter and she says, "Please, I am Darwin. I specialize in illnesses of the brain. Tell me, what is your story?"
So I don't want to be too forthcoming with my biography, given my fugitive status, but I will introduce myself and try to shift the focus off of me onto Saria, because she's why we're here. So, let's see. What would Kane say in this situation? He would say, "I am Kane, and this is Saria. I have brought her here to you on orders from her brother, from a nearby village. Girl, what is the name of your village?"
"It's the ruins in the false woods."
"Yes, she is from the ruins in the false woods. Her brother was quite insistent that she come to see you. I've been told she is a Beal."
And Darwin's face doesn't change much, but as you're talking, you do notice that she's very focused on Saria.
Okay.
And she seems to nod in understanding when you mention that she's a Beal, rather than being alarmed or being, taken aback.
Yeah.
And she says, "Yes, I do have a remedy, but it needs materials from the Synth Garden outside of town, and that used to be a community resource. We all pulled from it to get what we needed for our healing. But a pack of broken hounds have recently taken over that area. It's kept all the healers away."
I see. Okay, so she's treating Saria's condition as an ailment that needs to be cured.
Well,
it sounds like.
She definitely hasn't given you much detail about what remedy means in this case, for sure, if you wanted to ask questions.
All right. What do you mean by remedy? It sounds as though she has some affliction that needs to be cut out of her.
In times, that was certainly what some would ask for. In her case, and with things being strange as they are, I have heard that Beals are having less control over what their mind is connecting to right now. I have a remedy that would help her protect her mind from intrusion, give her some peace.
I see. More of a balm rather than alteration.
It would be a synthetic modification that would give her an extra layer of protection for her mind.
Please understand, Darwin, I have taken this girl under my protection. Should anything happen to her, I would take it quite personally. Is there any danger for this procedure to her?
No, I've done much research on my own to make sure these things work. And she reaches up and kind of touches some of the metal on her face.
Mm-hmm.
She says, from this time, I have certainly improved my procedure somewhat. The remedy is quite painless. The use of ciphers guarantees that it is quite comfortable to install, and once she has it, she will just gain more control. She'll have options instead of things being able to just get in her head. And especially for young ones like this, that can be very difficult.
So during her reply, Kane has been scrutinizing her quite closely to determine not necessarily the truth of what she's saying, but whether or not she believes everything she's saying is true.
Right, and you have a skill for that, I think.
I do. I'm quite adept at spotting lies and trickery, and also lying and being tricksy myself.
Okay. So, Darwin is a level 4 character. She doesn't seem to be trying to hide anything from you, but you can't tell until you roll, right?
That's true.
So with your skill, that would bring it down to a level 3 difficulty. Is that good, or do you want to spend anything?
That's fine.
All right, 9 or better.
15.
Okay. So she seems very sincere and very concerned about the girl. And kind of, she doesn't stop you from really, like, giving her the hard eye, or even looking closer at the synth metal that's in her face, if you wanted to do so.
Right.
But she kind of squats down to Saria's level. She says, "Darling, little Nichka, are you having headaches? Are you hearing things?" Saria says, "Yeah, that's sort of how it is sometimes." She says, "I can help you, but not without help." And she stands back up and looks at you. And she says, "As I said, the garden is dangerous right now, and I don't have the capacity to clear it to get what I need. Understand that if you choose to put yourself in this danger, clear out these hounds, get the things that I need, not only would you help Saria, but all the healers in the town would be indebted to you, and I'm sure there would be some prize for you in it."
So he doesn't spend any time thinking about this. This is something he's going to do as a matter of course. He will need some things. Okay. Kane will nod gravely, given the gravity of the situation, and he'll tell Darwin, "I will secure these things for you. Just provide a list and whatever equipment I may need and point me in the right direction. I have told her brother that I would wait for them here for 3 days upon delivering the child unto you. So I will need to secure lodging for that time."
That is certainly possible, especially if you're here to help. I know you're here to help the girl, but you are helping us, so we can make that happen. Broken hounds are nothing to scoff at, otherwise we would have cleared them already, so you may need some of that additional time that you'd be waiting for healing anyway. But
He'll just nod.
if you can get the things I need, 4 long strips of red metal and a golden pear, be warned, it gives a little bit of a shock at the touch. If you can bring me those things, I can craft something for her, and once her mind is calmed, she may be able to tell you more about what happened to her and her village. The Synth Garden is just outside town, to the east, not along the road that you came in. You'll have to go east a bit across the bit of rocky expanse there. It's not very far from town. We're lucky the hounds have stayed in the confines of the garden for now. No one knows why they're there. We don't normally see them here. But things have been strange and dangerous lately, I think, all along this area of the walk.
Again, he'll nod in agreement.
So, are you looking to rest up, to go at a certain time? Like, what's your plan or your approach?
So he'll probably spend the rest of the day gathering information and supplies, getting all the necessary quest items. Apparently, I don't need anything special, any kind of containment or list or description or whatever. It's pretty basic what I have to retrieve. And then, as far as, what are these, synth hounds or something?
These are broken hounds.
Broken hounds? I don't know where I got synth hounds from, but
there's a lot of synth mentioned because it's a synth garden.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay. They're like their dogs playing synthesizers.
Yeah. They're 80s dogs.
Right?
Yeah.
Devo dogs. So just gathering intel about broken hounds, what I can expect, how they operate, if they have any known weaknesses, what to look out for, what they look like, how they hunt, blah, blah, all that shit. And once I have all of the, information gathered, how far away the garden is that I'm going to,
Sure.
directions on how to get there, all of that, then I'll rest up for the night and I will leave in the morning.
Okay.
Or whenever I wake up, I guess.
Sure. So I'll give you a picture of what they look like because people in town would be very willing to share with you what they know about them because they want them out of the garden. They haven't been able to make new stock because they can't get supplies, basically. So from what you're able to gather, broken hounds are pack animals. They look like kind of gaunt, emaciated dogs, but their heads look sort of avian rather than canine. So it looks sort of like a bird skull was put on the corpse of a dog.
Gross.
They usually dwell in the dry wastes, kind of farther to the east. Sometimes they're seen in the mountains, but they're not really seen here very often. But there are a few of them from what the townsfolk have seen, which is in line with broken hounds. They move and hunt in packs, working as one to deal as much damage as they can to their prey, basically. They are motivated by hunger, and something that's known about them kind of through legend almost at this point is even those who have a great rapport with animals are unable to communicate with these creatures. They're not tameable or trainable. They're very single-minded.
Well, what do they eat? What do they prey on?
Flesh. They are carnivorous hunters.
Okay. So any kind of meat really is their jam.
Yep.
All right.
But again, they do act as a pack. So something that you could use to your advantage is that if enough damage is dealt to enough members of that pack, the remainder are likely to flee when there aren't enough of them to use their tactics.
Okay.
And that's again if they're acting normally.
Are they afraid of anything in particular, like, I don't know, fire or anything like that?
No one seems to be aware of them having any sort of fear of anything, as long as they're in their pack.
How about scavenging behavior? Do they, will they eat meat that they haven't freshly killed? 'Cause some animals, don't eat dead stuff.
They do seem to be both scavengers, hunters, and opportunistic feeders. It seems like their motivation is to eat, and so they do that sort of freely.
Okay. Cool. My idea is to track them to this garden and see if I can toss out some bait, leave a trap, and engage them at range at first, and then resort to, getting up close and dirty with them. Is my plan right now.
Sure. Do you mention that to the townsfolk that you're talking to?
Yes.
Okay. And so they direct you to Stola, the skewer man. He's the only one in town who still has stock of meat at this point. And so heading to his stall, you can see it's a food cart. And he has different varieties of meat cubes and vegetation on skewers that he kind of cooks over a flame to order.
All right. I'll explain to him the situation so that I'm not just asking for, free meat. And I also, out of the blue for no reason, give him some context. And then I'll ask him, so would you be willing to provide some maybe rotten old meat that you have no other use for as bait for this errand?
If it would mean getting those dogs out of here, I'd be more than happy to give you anything you need. They don't want these vegetables. I will take them off for you. And he starts putting together a few skewers of some fresh and some less fresh options that you could easily put in your gear.
Cool. All righty then. So bait secured. Now, can you tell me about this cipher that I have? I have a shock module, and I have some notes about it here,
Yeah.
but I do wonder if I can mod any weapon or if it has to be a melee weapon.
It does have to be a melee weapon.
Okay, cool. That was my question.
Yep.
All right, sweet. I'm going to mod my knife with that, but when I'm closer to the
because
battle...
it's a cipher, so it's a one-time.
Right, it only lasts for 28 hours.
Yeah.
So...
Very specific amount of time.
Right. I mean... That's what it says in my notes,
Yeah.
at least.
No,
and
that's
not
what
the
it is.
kind of shit I would make up. So.
No.
That's how long the battery or whatever lasts,
Right.
I'm guessing.
Exactly.
And so I'll apply that to my knife.
And then what is your
before,
other
later,
cipher?
all that kind of thing. Antivenom. So I have like a medical one.
And is it specifically poison? Is that what it says?
Yeah. Level 1d6 plus 2 immune to... like the level poisons. So I guess you roll to determine the level, and it grants you immunity to that level of poisons. And I assume that level and lower. I mean,
Right, yeah. No, only for that one.
right.
Better
Level
be a
1
level
poison, you're fucked.
You're fucked. Poison forever.
Poison because everyone.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, cool. Stola gives you the meat skewers and wraps them in this kind of clear synth material that crinkles slightly. He's like, to make sure your bag does not get messy.
Connie will nod his thanks to the meat vendor.
All right, so you have been through kind of the machinations of Darwin, been set up in one of the travelers' inns that's in town. And you've been given a nice room and everything. There's a relatively soft bed. There are some restorative waters left in your room for you and things like that for washing and drinking, and they're labeled appropriately.
Now, I assume I left Saria in Darwin's care.
Yes, she did tell you that Saria would need some preparation and time with the ciphers to make sure she was ready for anything to be installed. And so she said she would, keep her well and safe and fed until you could bring back the materials.
Cool.
No point in sending her out in an area with broken hounds.
Right.
You rest up. I don't think you took any damage in the last fight, though, right?
No, I don't have any marked, no.
Okay. I don't think they were able to hit you. You were doing a ton of dodging. So you don't have to roll anything to, recover or anything like that.
Cool.
All right. The next morning, you wake up pretty early, as is your habit. And you know from the information you gathered that the Synth Garden is not very far outside town. It's just to the east. And as you head there, you do have a good vantage point to see that it does look somewhat like a traditional garden built in these long rows. And some of the rows look like they have actual organic material, flowering plants, herbs, other things that look like edible fruits and things like that. And then other rows have things growing, but the things that are growing look synthetic.
Okay.
And from a distance, you can see a bit of movement in the garden, which may be these hounds that they've been talking about. All right, so you are a decent distance away from the garden still. Like I said, you can see some slight movement, but you can't make out exactly what they are. I wanted to stop here to give you an opportunity to let me know kind of what you want to do. I'm not just going to have you walk into the middle of it, unless that's your plan.
No, I want to lay my trap and then back away, you know. So if they're hunting me, then okay, then that situation is whatever. But if they're cautious, like most predators tend to be, then they're probably going to want to like watch and stalk and all that kind of thing for a while, and then get into maybe actually hunting me. So I'm just going to go in to maybe the near the edge of the garden, maybe where there's a clear view looking back to where, like, okay, if I lay my trap, my bait here, then I can retreat to over there and have a good vantage point with obvious approach points by quadruped type of dog looking things from this direction and that direction, and that should be pretty defensible. So it makes the most sense to set my bait, right here. Having determined that, hopefully, I would like to apply my shock module to my knife.
Okay.
Put my various gear that I don't need to necessarily take with me to the trap site back at my rally point, and with my knife and my bow and the bag for the bait, and that's also what I'll stuff the red metal and the pear in when I eventually, hopefully, am successful.
Right.
I'll head down to the spot where I intend to lay my trap, my bait.
So one of the things I would like you to do is, just to make sure you can get in without being noticed, which I feel like would be a speed check.
Yeah,
right?
That makes sense.
So this is going to be difficulty 2, standard difficulty. So 6 or better on your dice roll, unless you want to adjust that.
That's fine. And we also have to talk about having the spidey sense up and running. Okay. 6.
Okay. So yeah, not as quiet as you want to be. And mostly because as you get closer, you actually see a couple of the broken hounds. And it changes the way you approach the garden a bit because it seems like they navigate by smell. Looking at them, their eyes are hollow. They look very skull-like. And you can see them kind of with their beak-like protrusions in the air, sort of waving their heads, trying to follow scents. But you are able to evade them and set up in a good area without them noticing you right away. And you do notice as you get closer, there do appear to be about 6 of them here kind of roaming the garden. Usually at least a few of them are always together at any given time. And you notice that some of them have heads like vulture skulls and some like raven skulls. It seems to be like a mishmash of giant bird heads on these corpse-like dog bodies.
That's actually really cool. Take note, owl bear.
Yeah, right? Oh, you're cute, fluffy bird mammal? Try being this gross, corpsey one. I think of them a lot like the creature from
Annihilation.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look like the bear from Annihilation. Yeah, if you haven't seen that, and maybe you're not even intending to watch the movie because it's too scary or whatever, or who knows, you can just YouTube that scene.
Don't do it.
It's worth it.
No, don't. It's horrible.
It's exquisitely fucked up and amazing. Super gory and terrifying and horrible, but if you're into that kind of shit, it's amazing. If it gives you nightmares and you don't need that in your life, then by all means avoid it entirely.
Don't. Yeah.
But it is a masterpiece of cinema, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's it handles that otherworldly, like almost Cthulhu style, like horror really well.
Right.
Where like it's, it's supposed to be indescribable. Mm-hmm. And showing that in film has historically been very difficult.
Right.
So you, like I said, you're able to get into a good corner that will be very visible from back where you kind of left your things, so that you can approach with a ranged weapon first, because that was your plan, right?
Yeah, it was to find that good spot, to lay the bait where it's clear view, and then retreat back to somewhere where I could snipe them, hopefully. But when I'm laying the bait, also, like, smooge it up and smash it around and all that kind of thing. I don't know that I would have thought to, like, have gloves or whatever, because I don't necessarily want the scent on me.
Right.
Well,
it is wrapped
to be focused there. Yeah. So I'll, like, smudge it up in that stuff.
Billion-year-old plastic, because it doesn't biodegrade.
Throw it down. Right? It's been subducted underneath into the Earth's mantle and then come back out.
Yeah.
It's been ocean floor and it has been mountain peak and it is still plastic.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's probably how it actually happens.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, you can use that as a way to kind of make a barrier between your skin and the meat.
Cool. And wad it up and throw it away. Let the circle be unbroken.
All right. So you get back to your, sniping position, for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm.
And you wait for a while. And over the course of the next few minutes, as the hounds seem to make their rounds of the garden, you notice a small group of them seem to catch the scent of the bait. And instead of going straight for it, they lift their heads and call for the rest of the group.
Nice.
And so there's this strange sort of bird-like, chambered sort of noise. It's a little disturbing. And the call is returned from the far side of the garden, and pretty soon all 6 of them are heading over to the meat pile.
So I've counted 6.
Yes.
Okay. This is good to know. I have 4 arrows. So I have to make every single shot count.
Right.
And because it's for the last 2, it's going to be, up close and personal. So.
True.
Unless, yeah, I think there's no real option. So, yeah. All right, cool. The point is, I'm going to be waiting for really clear, clean shots and focusing all of my effort on every arrow that I send for 4 shots.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So, they don't know you're there because you made your speed check. So it's up to you when you want to start the encounter.
As soon as I have a clear shot, I'm going to take it. I have my arrows stuck in front of me in the dirt or otherwise laid out on the, rock outcropping or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. I have them all set up so that I can snatch out one and, aim very carefully and send it, and then repeat that process for each careful shot. Now, what's really cool is when I take out my bow. That is the coolest, because this is the debut of the bow, and I spent a lot of time thinking about this bow.
Yeah, is it called Le Bow?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Is it called Remy LeBeau?
Definitely not. If it was called Remy LeBeau, I would not have picked it up.
You would have broken it?
I would have lit it on fire and thrown it off a cliff.
All right. Sorry, continue.
That's okay. So it's awesome because it's basically just a riser. And I guess what I mean by that, it's like the handle part of the bow that you hold on to, and it has the part where the arrow rests on the handle part of, a normal bow, and beams that come up to either side of that. And then there's really no limbs or anything that are apparent at all. And when he actuates it basically turns it on, all of these things kind of snap out. So like from either end of the riser at an angle to its, long axis, some limbs kind of snapped out of it, kind of like Wolverine claws, not in terms of shape, but the sound they make when they snap into place. And then limbs unfurl and snap into place, and a string zips down and wraps with itself and snaps into place, all in one like quick motion when he takes out this riser and actuates it. And you can tell that there's not a lot of energy storage in the limbs. It's more of the string is sort of one continuous loop, so it's almost a spring mechanism type of thing, and it's very, very technical, very, very high tech. It's a cyber bow.
Yeah, it's more an arrow launcher than a bow.
Yeah. But it has the shape, and you look at it and you're like, oh, it's a bow. This is a weapon that mankind has been using since prehistory. But this is the ultimate evolution of that technology.
Yeah.
So.
You may take a shot if you'd like. Broken Hounds are level 2, so by default, you need to roll 6 or better. But you can let me know if you're making any adjustments or using any skills or any special attacks or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm not using any special attack, but I am making every arrow count. Okay. So
because you do have your piercing attack option.
Oh, that's right.
If you want to use it. I'm not saying you have to, but I'm just reminding you.
And that's not a one-shot sort of thing. I can do that each time as long as I pay 1 speed.
Yeah, it has a cost. So as long as you feel comfortable spending points, up to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that I necessarily want to add more damage. I do want to ensure that I hit. So I'm going to spend some effort to lower the difficulty of my roll. Okay.
You can do both if you want to.
Yeah, I want some speed left over for when I have to dodge these guys, if necessary, fighting hand to hand. I'm not going all out right off the bat. So spending effort. Oh, okay. Also, when do you get your pools back? Is that after a rest or whatever?
Recovery works a little bit differently than rests in D&D. You can see how there's some similarities. So you have opportunities for recovery over the course of a day.
Okay.
The first time is kind of like a second wind sort of thing. You can do it pretty much in a combat round if you needed to, like that 5 to 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And you roll 1d6 plus your tier. So 1d6 plus 1 for you. And you get that much back, and you can split it into however many pools you want. Okay. After that, you have to take a 10-minute breather to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you need to take like an hour or so because you're starting to get worn down. And after that, you need to do like the equivalent of a long rest, like getting a full 8 to 10 hours of relaxation in.
Okay.
And then it resets back to the second wind sort of thing. So the idea is within a day, you can use those different recovery points.
All right. So the reason I ask is I still have 6 out of 9 in my intellect pool because I spent 3 on my rousing speech to my traveling band.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering if I would have or could have recovered those since.
Yeah, because you would have been able to do all 4 rolls over the course of the last day, and especially because you rested at the end. So let's just give you those back because it's not going to make much of a difference.
Right. Yeah, I'm like, not that I'll necessarily need it, but it's good to know what I will need because I might need to do the 1d6 plus 1 in a like quick hide behind a tree while it like sniffs after me or something if I'm all out of, speed or whatnot.
Right.
Okay. So what am I going to have to spend here on my from my speed pool, I'm assuming.
So you're spending a level of effort,
Right.
which is normally 3 points, but you have an edge for speed, right?
Yes.
So it's 2 points instead.
Okay.
So like I said, you could spend all 3 points and still get the piercing attack, or you can just spend the 2 and get the effort.
Okay. Well, let's see how it does on the first one. So let's take my speed pool from 17 down to 14, and that's going to lower the roll difficulty by 1.
Right, which means you have to roll 3 or better.
And it's gonna, if it hits, it's going to do +1 damage. If I understand pierce.
If you use your piercing, yeah.
Right, I did. I spent 3 points.
Okay.
So that's 2 for effort and 1 for pierce.
And your bow's medium weapon, right?
Yes.
So normally it does 4 damage.
Correct.
So it would do 5.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. Hang on. Let me open the calculator app on my computer. All right. So here we go. First shot. 13.
Okay, that's higher than 3.
That is more than 3. Hang on. Let me open the calculator app.
Yeah, is there a less than or greater than option so I know if it's bigger? So you are able to easily line up a good target for your attack with one of your synth arrows as they start to feast on the pile of meat that you've left there. And your arrow is light, but it's very strong. And it goes right in behind the shoulder. It looks like a pretty grievous wound. And that hound yelps and then caws. It starts to, the whole group kind of turns towards your location. And they start to run at you. And the one that you hit is lagging behind the others quite a bit. It seems to be limping pretty dramatically.
Okay.
And you can hear it kind of gasping in its call as it runs.
Nice.
Okay. So I will note that one of them has taken 5 damage. So they're going to spend this round running towards you.
Okay.
They run well in short bursts. So you think you have another arrow you can get off before they're going to be in range.
Okay.
Okay?
Sounds good.
Okay. So what would you like to do?
Gonna do the same thing on another target.
So a different one?
Yes.
Got it.
And just like that, I'm down to 11 speed.
Ooh.
Okay. Here we go. All right. I rolled a 2. So against all odds, I did not make my shot.
You didn't botch, though.
True.
All right. So you bring the arrow up. You're trying to get it lined up, and like the tension from the string makes the arrow sort of wander off the riser a little bit and stuff like that. It's been a while since you've used le bow.
Oh, man.
And so you're getting everything corrected, and you think you'll be able to get a shot off, maybe if you want to, right as they reach you, but
Cool.
They're going to get an attack in first. And
All
then you'll
right.
probably want to switch to your melee weapon after that.
Sounds good.
Okay. So they get in, and that's right, I don't roll anything. I have to get dice. I would like you to roll. It's 6 or better to dodge away from their attack. They seem to move as one. So you're really only dodging like one creature, functionally.
Yeah. You get a little,
They
Little-
clever girl you.
little bow foo in
Yeah.
here. All right. 6 exactly.
All right. It's difficult looking at 6 animals as one thing. But that's really how you have to think about them to move out of the way of this attack. And so you sort of stumble back a few paces, just enough for you with the arrow already on the riser to probably get that off if you wanted to.
Yeah, already knocked. Okay, cool. So, dang, that is 8. Whew. I'm using all of my speed pool here. All right, so we're going to try for my third and final arrow. I mean, I have one laying around somewhere, but we'll see.
This is still just your second arrow.
Oh.
Because you didn't get to launch that one, you failed. So I had you just
Oh,
spend too long on
didn't
corrections.
actually shoot
Yeah.
it. Okay, gotcha. That makes sense. Thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah, no
I
problem.
didn't know. Okay, 6. Luckily, I lowered the difficulty. Otherwise, I would have just tied it.
Well, it's tie or better.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
Since I lowered the
Did you pierce
difficulty on
again?
it, yes.
And you said it was to a different one, right?
Right.
Okay. Noted. So now 2 of them, almost like a bellows with a hole in it. You can hear sort of a vague whistle as those 2 call as part of the group. You've punctured holes in them.
In the industry, we call that a sucking chest wound.
In the chest wound industry.
In the chest wound industry.
Yeah.
Those are the open sucking kind. Not
right.
really. I guess they have an arrow in them, so they're just a regular one. Okay.
Right.
Anyway.
Yes. So these creatures seem to have... Can I just know what your might pool is so I have an idea of what I'm working with as far as you dying?
My might pool is 16.
Okay.
And it's full.
Okay. They, even with a couple of injured members, have seemed to really figure out the way you move. Mm. And you see them sort of tightening their formation as they come at you, bro. Okay?
Okay.
So when you dodge this time, it's much more difficult. Mm-hmm. We're treating them now as a single level 4 creature.
Okay.
Which means 16 or better.
All right.
Unless you want to do something about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to bring that under control here. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So are you handling that through your speed? Or are you handling that by physically blocking, with your weapon? That would be more of a might sort of blocking mechanism. How are we spending points on this?
Let's see here. So can you use might to increase damage in this system? Is that a thing, or is it only as a defensive kind of
So you
mechanism?
Can use might as a way to spend effort with attacks that use might.
Right.
You can also, because remember in your glaive you chose your special attacks? Mm-hmm. Some of them are more might focused, and you chose ones that were a little bit more speed focused.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that is true. Because I just have unarmed here. So
right.
I'm going to have to rely on brute force, I think, a little bit for the defense.
Yeah, sure.
Speed for the offense. So
okay.
Is what we're going to look at.
Your unarmed strikes probably use your might.
Okay.
Right, because you're just throwing your weight into it and stuff like that.
Right. It's it depends on what type of unarmed strike.
I guess you could be doing some,
but
wushu stuff.
Right.
More speed.
You could do some the Wing Chun style shit,
Yeah.
or you could do some more, Western boxing style stuff that's more, I mean, there's speed elements and all that kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, you're trying to put some power.
So I guess what I'm trying to
behind
ask is, for avoiding this attack, what are you doing so we know what pool it comes out of if you want to spend effort?
Let's dodge using speed so that we can counterattack.
All right.
Hopefully.
And do you want to spend effort on that?
Yes.
Okay. So you may spend 2 points.
Okay.
And that will lower the difficulty so that you must roll 9 or better.
Okay.
Which is better.
Yeah, that's in the realm of possibility here.
I said it wrong before because I was thinking about squares. It would be 12 or better. If you reduce it, it's now 9 or better.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. We're hoping for a 9 or better. Mm-hmm. Another 2.
All right. This attack is devastating.
Devastating.
The hounds break off to sort of get your attention. Like I said, they're clever girling you right now. Mm-hmm. And then one of them in the lead clamps its beak-like protrusion over your arm that's holding the bow riser.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And you notice that although it's beak-like, there are these kind of toothy ridges inside of it.
Nice.
And from its mouth comes the scent of decay.
Gross.
And you take 8 points of damage from your might pool.
All right. cool. Is that counting my light armor
No.
score of 1?
Yeah, so you'd subtract 1, so it's 7 points.
So my might pool...
That's what we didn't know how to do last time.
My might pool is down to 9
Yeah.
out of 16. I can't seem to write a 9 right now to save my life.
You can bring up
There
the
we go.
calculator. See what it looks like.
Yeah, let me open the calculator app.
It is your turn.
All right. Sweet. So, I think I'm going to have to start hack and slashing with my knife, my long knife.
Okay. With your cipherized knife.
Yeah.
Okay.
It has the shock module
True.
on it.
Yes.
And it does +1 electrical damage. So, who knows if that makes any difference.
Right.
Okay, cool. So, let's start stabbing some hounds. Now, I'm not really being too picky.
Mm-hmm.
If there's one with an arrow sticking out of it nearby, great. If not, that's cool too. You know, whichever one is most readily available.
Two of them are obviously damaged. It's up to you if you want to work for those, because you do know that if you can take enough of them out, the rest of them will likely flee.
Okay.
Because they do work as a pack.
Yeah, if I can spot one with an arrow, I'll attack that one.
Okay. And is your knife is a light weapon, right?
My knife is a light weapon, yes.
Okay. Cool. Good to know.
So, that is interesting. I'm going to see if this shock module, you know, does any, has any effect, you know,
Sure.
on the thing. And if not, I'll probably abandon it, like leave it stuck into the thing, you know,
Sure.
because I actually hit harder with my fist and foot and head and elbow and knee than
you do with your knife.
I do with my modified knife.
But your knife is easier to use.
Also
So the
true.
difficulty will be lower.
Oh, nice.
When you use your knife compared to your fists or your bow.
Okay.
Because
Well,
since your
into that
fists are
end.
now a medium weapon,
True.
they're a little harder to use.
They are? I did not know that. I thought they hit harder, but were not harder
They're treated
to
as a
use.
medium weapon, so you have a standard, you do your standard attack roll, and you do more damage.
Right.
Because you are putting more into it.
Okay.
Using your knife, it's going to be difficulty 1 instead of 2 to get an attack in.
Oh, okay.
So that means 3 or better.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. They're really hard to dodge now, but they're still normal to attack.
Okay.
Okay.
And it is doing 3 damage, whereas the other kind does 4. So,
Right.
you know, there's that. Now I'm running a little low on my pools here, so I don't know that I want to add Pierce. Not
You
to this
can't because
attack.
it's not ranged.
Oh, Pierce is only for ranged.
Right.
Okay, didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. All right, 5.
Okay. So that is enough. Since you're using a light weapon,
Just barely gets there.
if you're using your fists, that wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, I know.
All right. And so you can tell from the beak shape, it's that vulture looking one. Mm-hmm. This is the first one that you struck with an arrow.
Okay.
And you, as soon as your knife touches, you see the arcs of electricity kind of fly across into the creature. And then you dig your blade in and kind of leap back, avoiding their retaliation at that point. And that, with a kind of hissing sound, that creature drops to the ground and this dark oozing fluid starts to seep from the wounds. It appears to be down.
Man, these things are gross.
All right, and it's their turn. Mm-hmm. So again, there's still enough of them that they are acting as one level 4 creature, which is 12 or better to dodge.
Right. Okay.
Or to avoid the attack.
Right. So let's try really hard to dodge their attack.
All right, you speed efforting?
Yes.
Okay. So 2 points.
2 points. Down to 4.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Just don't get to 0.
7.
Okay. Because you lowered it down to level 3.
Right.
Which would be
9.
9 or better.
Yeah.
All right.
So I still get hit, but,
So you take 7 more damage because of your armor.
Got it.
That negates one of the points.
Okay. All right. Down to 2 out of 16. I don't know that I can take any more hits.
I will tell you, if you take out one more of them, they can't do that big attack anymore.
Okay.
Okay?
Cool.
There won't be enough of them to coordinate. All right.
Right.
So, it is your turn. There is one more injured one left.
All right.
And
Hopefully
based on your last attack and the type of damage the knife is doing, you think if you can get a hit in, that it will go down.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. So that's what we're gonna try for.
Okay. So again, by default, that is 6 or better.
Okay. Let's spend another 2 points of speed. Ensure that we hit this thing. All right. So we're lowering it down to 2, right?
No, they're at 2. So if you're lowering it to 1, which is 3 or better.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
Here we go. All right. 7.
All right. So once again, you kind of let the air out of it and leap back. And you can see the group is starting to get a little bit more chaotic and dispersed. They're losing their sort of pack ability to maneuver around you. Things are getting a little not so great for them. All right.
It's a tough fight, but...
Well, you're a solo character. This is actually going... Because I haven't changed this encounter at all. So this is a group encounter.
Nice.
You're doing it solo. That broken hand. All right.
We really need to get pet profiles up on the Patreon page.
All right. That was your attack. They're starting to get a little bonkers. So now, when you dodge, it's not the hard dodge. They're not acting as a pack in the same capacity, so you just need 6 or better default.
Okay.
Okay?
Cool.
Now, you can still choose to lower that if you want to get into dangerous levels with your pools.
Oh, I am.
Just remember, don't go to 0 with any of your pools.
Oh, never mind. I only have 2
Okay.
in each of my pools, so I can't do any more pool stuff.
Okay.
At least not with might or speed. I can try talking to them, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, don't do that. It will be a waste.
I can try really hard to like convince them to go away.
So 6 or better is what I need.
Oh, because they're attacking, so I'm dodging.
Yep.
All right, here we go. 14.
Taking advantage of the chaos in the group, you're easily able to move out of the way of these individual. Now, they feel much more like just dodging dogs in the street of a city. You're just moving away from them, kind of moving a bit unpredictably. This is something that's more manageable to you, for sure. All right, and it is your turn. You know, based on the chaos you're already seeing, if another one of these hounds goes down, you're golden.
All right.
They're probably not going to be able to fight you anymore.
Just have to drop 50% of them, and the remaining 3 will run away. All right. Hang on, let me open the calculator app.
Okay.
So I can do...
Do you want to do one of your recoveries?
Oh, yeah. Let's do a recovery.
Okay.
Cool. That's 1d6?
1d6 plus 1.
1.
Oh, no. So 2.
Hooray.
You may put 2 points wherever you would like. And you can split them if you want to and put 1 and 1.
I mean... Nah, I'm going to put them both in might. So
Okay.
I'm going to go from 2 to 4 in might.
Okay.
That way I can, I don't know, stand a chance maybe of soaking a hit or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Cool.
Sweet.
So I'll run away a little bit, take a breather, that sort of deal. I mean, if I could, well, no. All right. I was wondering, like, I could run all the way to where my arrows are and have a chance of getting a shot off.
Sure. Make a speed check to see if you can get that far. Because you are faster than they are over longer distances.
18.
Yes. Absolutely. And with an 18, that is a special roll. I will say, if you want, because your roll is so good, you can run and sort of, you can, elf action this, where you can lift up an arrow and get everything
Do
set.
do some Hawkeye type shit.
Right.
Okay. I mean, you gotta work real hard to keep that guy relevant. Did you see the Endgame trailer? They gave him a freaking mohawk.
Yeah. They're like, look at how cool he is now, guys. He didn't get dusted. He's rad now.
He's super awesome.
Oh, spoilers, by the way.
Jeremy Renner with a mohawk. Yeah, Hawkeye's not a dumb hero.
He's Mohawk.
How dare you? He's leveled up to Mohawkeye.
Yeah, he's digivolved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. He was less Hawkeye when he was like wearing a flannel and playing catch with his kid. But
Yeah.
yeah. And he got serious. Anyway.
Hawk dead. No, it's Mohawkeye.
So Kane will dash towards an arrow that he sees glinting in kind of silvery light because it's all cybery, matches the bow. Dash towards it, leap across, grab it up, knock it, draw as he's spun back around, take aim and loose.
All right. And that does
One.
4 damage, right?
Yes.
Your bow. Okay.
I mean, unless I tried to pierce with it, but that would be spending 1 speed. And I don't have 2 speed. So
Yeah, let's go for this. So one more of them seems very, very hurt. Okay. With that attack. And so I need you to go ahead and roll. Remember, 6 or better to dodge their bitey bites.
Oh, okay. So we're counting my speed roll as like the whole attack, the dash, the attack, all that. Oh, nice. Okay.
Because you rolled an 18. Otherwise, not so much.
All right. So 6 or better to dodge.
6 or better to dodge.
Dodge the doge. 11. Whew.
Okay.
I was sweating, G.
Yeah, because you could
it's
have
hot
died in this round.
Yeah, right. That could have killed me.
Because they still do 4 damage, even when they're not doing the crazy attack. That's enough.
I know, right? I mean, that would have reduced me to 0.
Yeah.
So
All
I
right.
don't know what happens, but
So, you now have an opportunity to attack. They are now back in melee range. So, up to you how you want to approach this.
okay. Well, I still have my knife, and it's pretty interesting, how he's shooting his bow and stabbing with his knife and everything all at once. I kind of feel like it's a little rule bendy to do that because a bow is like a 2-handed weapon. But as any archer knows, if you have something light enough, like another arrow or perhaps a knife that isn't a big, giant, heavy, like Bowie or something.
Right.
You can hold something between your last 2 fingers in your palm while having your other 2 fingers available to draw your bow.
Yeah, I kind of figured that's what you were doing, is either holding it against the riser or holding it in your arrow hand.
Yeah. So he's holding his knife with those last 2 fingers while he's, drawing the bow and sending arrows. And then for knife melee attacks, spinning it around for stabs and slashes and what have you. So.
Stabs. All right.
Right.
6 or better to hit a creature.
All right.
With your... Oh, wait, no, because it's in your knife, right?
Yes.
3 or better to hit the creature.
All right. Come on. Street justice. 15.
All right. That's enough. With another gasp and a kind of sound of the electric force making contact go leaping across from the knife to the creature, things go silent for a moment as this third creature from the group drops to the ground. And you can see the remaining 3 sort of get low into the grass and start to slink back and then make this sort of like eagle-like yipping call as they turn and run. Not back to the garden, but away from the garden and back towards the east.
All right.
All right.
Successfully chased them off.
You have done it, barely.
Just barely.
You did it, though. I didn't... Obviously, I can't fudge dice rolls because you roll all the dice.
I know.
So you did it.
That's awesome.
Legit.
You get a much richer sense of accomplishment when you don't know if your DM is rolling, looking at it, and going, "Ooh, shit."
See, I was going to use an intrusion if the fight was too easy for you. But obviously it wasn't, so I'm not going to do the intrusion at this point.
It was close, though. It's not like
yeah.
it was easy. I didn't just wade through the shit. Like,
No.
all right, that's cool.
That was a tough fight.
So I was looking at my recovery pools here, right?
Yes.
I have 1d6 plus,
Yes.
which I put a check mark next to because I did that already.
So you've done your first recovery, you want to do your second one now, right?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I
Yeah.
have a box that's 1d6 plus, so I'm assuming that's referring to the 1d6 plus tier that I
Right.
did already. Then I have one that says 1 action, then
Right.
10 minutes, 1 hour, 10 hours.
Okay, yeah.
So I was going to do the 1 action one.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Okay, cool. So I just put a check mark next to that, and then what does that do? Is it the same thing?
It's the same
or-
roll every time. It's just the idea that the more often you try to do it within a day, the harder it gets to recover.
Okay,
So every time takes a little bit longer for you to handle it.
cool. Well, this time is 3, so
So
that's
4.
better, right?
You have 4 points to put wherever you want.
Okay, let's bring the might pool back up to 6.
It's a good idea.
And speed pool up to 5.
Okay. Do you want to take an additional rest?
Yeah, I mean, let's do the 10 minutes one. What the
Yeah.
hell?
I mean, it's 10 minutes, right?
Right.
It's
like,
fine.
What the hell? I'm not going to see if there's any meat that they didn't eat. See if I
And so
can't
for you, like
barbecue
recovery
it
works
up.
a little bit differently because of the way you've changed.
2. So it's another 3 points.
So instead of just like resting and kind of bandaging yourself, there's a little bit of that, but you also have your tools out and you're doing some repairs
Right.
to your internal mechanisms.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much narrative control I have over that process or whatever, but it's not like I have a bag full of like, nuts and bolts and gears and gizmos and stuff like that. It's more like injectables and sprays and that sort of stuff as opposed to like actual hardware spare parts because it would be because all of his stuff is subcutaneous, right? So it would be more a matter of like cleaning the wound out, and then like spreading it open with a little spreader, spraying on some whatever and like injecting some like stuff in there because it's still spare parts, but it's more like nano type of spare parts.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Is what I had in mind.
Sure.
Now, if it has to be like...
It has to be obviously something that wouldn't work on a people is the thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like a tube of like, for lack of a better descriptor, what looks like thermal paste when you're installing a CPU in a computer.
Sure.
Because it's a metallic toothpaste looking stuff.
Okay.
Because it's like nanobots in this like suspension of antiseptic type of whatever because it's a melding of bioorganics and nano mesh type of stuff.
Right.
It's cybernetic, but it's on the cellular level as opposed to one like a giant spare part.
Right.
Is all I was thinking.
Yeah, that's fine. It's something that has to be apparent if someone saw you doing it.
Oh, yeah,
it's the only
absolutely.
thing I mean.
Like when he's like working, like let's say he's working on an arm or a leg or like a chest part.
Right.
There's like clamps and stuff that like spread it open.
Right.
And there's all these like tendrils and fibers of glowing like fiber optic looking shit under there.
Right. And right now, like you're pretty lucky you're out there by yourself because with all the effort you've expended and all the damage you've taken, you're glowing all over the place.
Oh,
right now.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like if it's nighttime by now, I mean, I'm lighting up the clearing.
Right.
For sure. But like I said, there's the wound spreaders or whatever those are called in surgery, those things that you kind of ratchet open and it spreads it open. And there's all the tendrils of fiber optic looking stuff in there that are kind of reaching out towards each other to try to knit, but which I figure they would do given time.
Right.
If I rested up for like a week, it would heal itself.
Right.
But to accelerate that, there's the like spray of metallic type of looking disinfectant and everything that's conditioned to the cybernetic nature of my anatomy now. And then you put on this like this squeezy tube that it's like a syringe but with a a fatter nozzle, almost like you're doing some really like frosting. And when he squeezes it out in contact with the air, it expands out like that foam type of shit.
Right.
But it's all metallic and kind of writhing and glowing and all that. And this would actually be super bad if you put this on a fully organic wound, because the idea is it eats away the flesh that's like damaged and clears a path for new flesh to mend with the cybernetic components and all that.
So you've taken 10 to kind of get your equipment out and make some repairs to the deeper wounds so that they won't get any worse at this point. Did you want to take any additional time, or do you want to go into the garden?
I'll go into the garden.
All right. Despite the odds, you have succeeded in securing the garden. You walk through the rows and you find plants that seem to match the description that you were asked for.
Okay.
There is a row of plants that produce leaves made of long red metal.
Nice.
And so you gather those strips as requested, I assume?
Yes. Now, point of clarification here, just real quick. I would have tried to gather as many of my precious 4 arrows as I could have.
Oh, yeah.
Before heading into the garden.
Yeah, you can get all 4 because you didn't botch or anything on any of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, cool. So I still have my 4 arrows that I have collected.
Cool.
Went into the garden.
No doubt.
Went into the garden, found my 4 strips of red metal.
Yes.
Okay. Or at least I found the plants.
Right. Well, yeah, you can harvest them. And then they slice your hands.
Right. I mean, I feel like they would have warned me. Like,
she did warn you about the pears.
Right. They give you a slight shock when you pluck a pear. Mm-hmm. Okay. Fair enough.
And then you find a small bush that it looks like a lot of its fruit have been scavenged by critters. But there are a couple of golden pear-like fruits still on it.
Okay.
Would you like to harvest one?
Yes. Going to steel myself. So kind of like every morning when I get to work, I take off my jacket and I know I've built up a lot of static.
Right.
And before I turn on my monitors, I'm like, I have to build up the nerve to like reach out and touch it because I know it's gonna like zap. And then sometimes I try to touch the metal part of the cubicle to ground it out, but it doesn't always work. So it's kind of like that where I'm like, dang it, I know this is gonna suck, and then just reach out and try and snatch a pear,
Sure.
all at once.
Yeah. So you do it. There's a little bit of a shock, but it's nothing. It's not damaging or anything. It's just unpleasant, like any static sort of electricity shock is.
Okay.
It's like when you touch the light switch here in the winter.
Oh, right.
It's the worst.
It's like when you touch anything here.
It's when you touch a cat here in the winter. It's when you touch a person.
It cuts down on hair gel, Yeah.
So much volume. All right. But you find everything you're looking for, and it appears that the garden is now secure. And the townsfolk should be quite happy about that.
Cool. Can I bring back the vulture head of the broken hound that I'm going to decide was the alpha of the pack to bring back to the townsfolk as proof of completion?
Yeah. So you are able to harvest the head from the creature. And as you do, again, kind of like I described, it does seem, although definitely not in this era, these things were definitely engineered at some point. And so it's almost simple to pull apart that seam where dog body meets bird head.
Okay.
It's very strange.
Yeah, man. Somebody had a bad trip.
All right. And so you pull off the head, you have all of your harvestables. Is there anything else you'd like to do before you head back to town?
Unless there's anything in this garden that stands out as, valuable or extremely useful that I could easily harvest and bring back as a bonus, like, and I brought back this bushel of, cerulean grapes or whatever.
Right. So let's say...
Because I don't really know stuff. It would just be like, hey, that's shiny and glowy and maybe useful. I don't know.
I would say This would normally be difficulty 3, like kind of knowing what's worthwhile to harvest. But you don't know things.
Right.
So it's difficulty 4.
Yeah.
So 12 or better.
Perfectly fair. See if I can spot anything that looks like I might want to bring back. 19.
Wow.
All right.
Yes, you actually find something that you've actually seen before in markets where you know it is very valuable. And you think actually if you bring this into town, you could have someone craft you something.
Nice.
That could be used because your roll's so good.
All right. Let me turn the page in my handy dandy notebook here.
You're such a nerd. No, I'm just kidding.
Hell yeah. I mean, don't be kidding. That is quite the compliment. Thank you. I'll take it.
No, I mean, I didn't mean it in a mean way.
Oh.
I like that you take notes. That's annoying in some games sometimes, where I'm like, let me give you this cool information, and then nobody remembers it ever. Probably because I say it like that is the problem.
Probably because you don't say it like
that.
that.
Yeah, I should say it like that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, watch out, guys. Here's a thing you should remember.
Healy fruit +1. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a perfectly glossy red small apple.
Ooh, okay. A wax apple. All right. Cool. All right. I'm just going to put Healy fruit +1.
Yeah,
and hopefully we remember what the hell that means when we're back at it.
All right. So you head back into town. Once again, it's starting to get dark. You took time to get out there, time to fight, time to heal, searching through the rows, because this is a sizable garden.
Right.
To find what you're looking for, and then to identify an additional thing to pick up on your way. And as you get back into town with this giant bird head with like this thin layer of skin stretched over it, and you've talked to a lot of the shopkeepers to try to get information to go out on your way. So everyone sort of recognizes what you've just come back from and what you've done. And so people are kind of not accosting you, but I mean, they're kind of bothering you along your way, like, oh, make sure to sit in the hot pools tonight, and we'll make sure to bring these things to your room so that you can recover, like, because you look a bit of a mess. Like, you look more human now than you did when you had to goo yourself.
Yeah.
But you look rough. It's obvious you took some damage.
Yeah.
And you're probably limping a bit, and so you took a lot of damage.
I did. I got really beat up, and now I'm walking back into this provincial town, and everyone's
Your
like, bonjour, 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 bonjour.
Yeah.
I'm like, Jesus, leave me alone. Sorry, my clothes are what?
They're all ripped up and stuff like that. From all the like rows of ridginess inside of the beaks.
I have one glowing nipple showing through a
you're
rip
not
in my
glowing
tunic.
anymore. I'll be nice to you.
Okay.
No nipples. It's not a kind of show.
No nipple,
no
glowing
one has
or
nipples.
otherwise.
They don't exist.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
We have Bodies by Kenner.
So you make your way back to Darvin's shop, and she greets you warmly, and Saria's eyes get really big, but then she just gets interested in looking at the skull. She's like, oh, wow, messing with it and stuff like that. And Darvin like takes the supplies from you. She says, don't worry, this night we will make sure you rest well. We will make sure you will be better for your remaining days of leisure as you wait for the breath.
Okay. So when she says that, I'll raise a finger to her as though I'm going to make a very salient point or some declaration of my victory. Mm-hmm. And then sway a bit on my feet and fall over on my side in exhaustion.
All right.
Ka-thump.
So the last thing you remember as you kind of black out into this restful state is her moving in. You think she's calling to someone, and then kind of you feel people tending to you.
Nice.
And that is where we will go ahead and stop for today as you recover from your grievous injuries, because I didn't change your encounter for a group.
Man, fun fact, if you're going to fight a pack of 6 broken hounds by yourself as a tier 1 hero, be aware that you're putting your life at hazard.
Yeah, well, so obviously going into a new system, you do a little bit of research for how to adjust it for a single player, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I'll talk a little bit about what I found when we do our patron-only episode.
Yeah.
But that's why you ended up in this state.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and wrap it up here then. If you are a patron, you will get access to the super secret patron feed where we do our after episode talks, talking through kind of the planning that went into it, our thoughts on what's happening, and kind of get a little silly with it. I mean, usually that's how it works.
Na 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 na.
Getting silly with it.
Na 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 na.
And so there's a preview. So as always, I'm Rainy. You can find me on the internets in various locations. Check the description for a few of them. But the place it's easiest to talk to me is on Twitter. I'm at Barbarian Rainy.
I'm Santiago. You can hit me up on Twitter at Rangugiri, or you can check me out on YouTube at youtube.com/Rangu.
And if you wouldn't mind helping us say thank you to Jesse for gifting us with this book, do check him out on Instagram at Granpays, Granpays. And there is a link to that in the description as well. Even just going by and saying hello and letting him know you heard about him on the podcast because he's awesome and gave us a book would be super cool. So please consider it because this is one of the ways we get new stuff to play.
Yeah, I mean, it really helps out because we don't, it's not necessarily, can't always get a new book or something like that because books are typically really affordable even on a limited budget. You know, it's a reasonable,
what you get out of them.
Right, it's a reasonable cost for all the time and effort and love that goes into making them. To buy a book for like $40, $60, $100, it's something that is not out of reach. You can budget for it in a lot of cases, but it's less that and it's more like, this wasn't even on my radar. I never would have heard of Numenera if it weren't for this. And it's been amazing so far. You probably knew all about it because you are like a hyper nerd. Yeah. I'm like a tier 1 nerd. True. So you probably already knew about it, but I never heard of it. So that's another way it helps out, is just putting stuff on our radar that we wouldn't otherwise have been exposed to. So it's kind of a double-edged sword in that regard.
Yeah, and just like because we are running through so many different systems, yes, we can budget for it, but getting a little bit of help with some of these is nice because we do have to get so many books to make this work.
And subscriptions to tools and stuff like that as well. It's like, it adds up.
Yeah, for sure. So if you want to support us, we do have a whole list of things on our Patreon page, patreon.com/justbarbarianthings. Even if being a monthly patron is not the right thing for you, we have a list of all the different ways that you can do things that help us out, even if it's as little as like saying something cool about us on Twitter or leaving a review on the podcast or whatever, because all of those things help people find out about us, and it all adds up.
Yeah.
So until next time, everyone, spend your rage wisely.
Or don't. Sometimes you have to spend all your points to beat the pack of broken hounds. Please understand, Darwin, I've taken this girl under my control. Please understand. Right? Just like a puppet. No.
You see these strings I have tied to her arms. Look at her dance.
No. Rewind all that shit. What kind of horror is that? Is that body horror, or is that specifically for Cronenberg type of shit?
Yeah, I don't think that's body horror.
There's a specific kind of horror that like has a name, I thought, where the Lovecraftian horror, I guess, is the name for that.
No, I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of the word right now either. And so the like 3 people who listen to this podcast are like screaming at us. Right. You dummies.
Right. We'll sit bolt upright about 3 a.m. tomorrow morning. It's this.
Yeah.
All right.
We just haven't eaten yet. Our brains don't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little low on calories for the old brain piece.
All right. All right. So, stop being happy. Go be sad.
Bitch, you almost made me laugh. Almost sprayed beer all over my fancy monitors. And just for the record, Bitch, You Almost Made Me Laugh is a shout out quote from a Kevin Smith movie, Chasing Amy. If you pick up a big old handful of dice and be like, all right, y'all ready for this? Chaka, 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 bloosh. And then count it up and open your calculator app and be like, oh shit, guys. Get ready for some crazy information. And you know, people would probably pay attention and...
Probably not. Thinly skinned over broken hound. Thinly skinned over sort of skull. Shut up, I'm trying to talk.